Southeast Asia is officially at war. Thailand and Cambodia just entered a hot war in Southeast Asia. It is true that Southeast Asia is currently undergoing massive changes. And in this video, I'm going to explain everything that you need to know about the current situation in Thailand and Cambodia and why I think it might be time to leave Southeast Asia for good. The border conflict between Thailand and Cambodia is quickly spiraling out of control. Arguably, in July 2025, the month that we're currently in, the border between Cambodia and Thailand stopped being a line. A region that's been peaceful for many years has turned into a battlefield. If and when diplomacy fails, war is the usual result. It's the end result of poor negotiations, of disagreements, and most importantly, of a lack of respect. Now, whether you're a citizen of Thailand or Cambodia, or perhaps you are an expat living in one of these two countries, there is something deeper happening behind the curtains. This isn't just about the hot war that's currently happening between the two countries. I believe that expats have lots more to worry about in the 21st century. What began as political tension has quickly turned into rocket fire in Southeast Asia, drawing attention from multiple governments, politicians across the globe that stressed the importance of restoring peace in the region. Obviously, neighboring countries are concerned about the current ongoing hot war between Cambodia and Thailand, and people don't want to see this conflict spiraling out of control. I think this goes without saying. However, for the time being, the leaderships of the two nations have failed to restore peace. Undoubtedly, this is the most violent border conflict between Cambodia and Thailand in decades. And it's also the deadliest in decades. Now, if we take a look at the number, many people have been killed and over 100,000 people have been displaced so far. And there doesn't seem to be a solution in place as this conflict seems to be spiraling more and more out of control as the days go by. Now, if you are an expat, if you are American, Canadian, European, Australian, or even somebody from Latin America living in one of these two countries, I think you should seriously consider packing your bags for a number of reasons. First of all, there is a safety concern now in Southeast Asia, especially if you live in these two countries. Now, if you have followed us on the Nomad Elite channel, you are aware that we have warned our subscribers and our viewers for many years about the current issues that are present in Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia is not a safe place for an expat to live in for a number of reasons. Given the current political turmoil and hot war situation between the two countries, I believe that this is the best time to start looking for peace and freedom elsewhere, especially outside of Southeast Asia. Foreign nationals living in these two countries, Cambodia and Thailand, don't have access to full reciprocity in civil and property rights. In fact, many foreigners living in Southeast Asia never get to obtain permanent residency or citizenship. And now with the current situation, this is a very serious and also sad situation. I think that if you are in Southeast Asia, you really have to watch what you do and what you say, especially on the internet. Both of these two countries, Thailand and Cambodia, apply extreme censorship, not just during the current ongoing situation, but also before. The First Amendment does not exist in Southeast Asia, and even less so in Cambodia and Thailand, because both countries are still monarchies. These two countries have a prolonged history of hot wars, political conflict, and disagreements, just as many other countries across the planet do. Given the lack of civil and property rights that you get as a foreigner living in Southeast Asia, I think that this situation now is a turning point. I really think that these countries have crossed the red line, and this is the perfect situation for a foreigner to depart one of these two countries. Now, before this conflict began, you really only had to worry about being a perpetual visitor in these two countries pretty much forever. I mean, Cambodia does have a path to citizenship. It's not a very strong passport, and you don't really get full reciprocity and stolen property rights in Cambodia, and neither do you in Thailand. And then there's also the argument about owning property, something that remains very difficult in these two countries. So establishing yourself long-term in Southeast Asia has always been difficult, but even more so during this current situation and in the future. Global conflicts are becoming more prominent in the 21st century for a number of reasons. Countries are worried about resources. Many countries have resource deficits. Many countries have political disagreements. Many countries are doing things to gain more power, which of course includes obtaining resources from competing in other countries. Freedom of speech doesn't really exist in these two countries, and if you are an expat living in Thailand or Cambodia in July 2025 or even in Q2 or Q3 2025, please don't make any public statements about this current ongoing conflict, because as a foreigner you are a visitor in these two countries, and the leaderships, they don't really want you to speak up on the current issues. They don't even want their own citizens to speak up on what's happening there. Now imagine what would happen if you, as a foreigner, would start publicizing content on the internet talking about what's happening in these two countries. The leadership certainly wouldn't be happy about your expressions, and you could face imprisonment for many years. So please refrain from doing this. If you are concerned about your safety, your family's safety, or even your friends' safety, consider moving to different countries, different geographic locations with more peace and freedom. Thailand underwent lots of changes in recent years. Thailand is very obviously changing its visa policy so often, making it difficult for expats to establish themselves in Thailand. This is nothing new. If you are a resident in Thailand, obviously permanent residency is very hard to come by. And unless you are an American, you're probably never going to own a Thai corporation 100% yourself, meaning you have to start a Thai corporation with a local partner. Thai law is structured in a way to benefit its own people, to benefit the country. And as a foreigner, you're never going to be able to own 100% of a local company in Thailand, unless, like I've said, if you're an American, you are able to own 100% of a Thai corporation. But if you're a citizen from a different country, say Canada, United Kingdom, European Union, Australia, or other countries across the globe, you will not be able to own a Thai corporation 100% yourself. When it comes to property ownership is highly restricted in Southeast Asia, including Thailand and Cambodia. You cannot legally own the land the property is built on. Let's say you have the intentions of purchasing a home in Thailand. Let's say you want a family home for your wife and your children. You cannot really do it under your personal name. Now, there are some options in place, such as incorporating a Thai corporation and using a certain legal structure that would allow you to do so. However, many people are uncomfortable with this structure because it still entails many limitations. I personally believe that these two countries have a lot of work to complete before foreigners can truly establish themselves in Southeast Asia. Other geographic locations across the globe, such as Eastern Europe, Western Europe, Latin America, and even the South Pacific. These regions offer much more reciprocity in civil and property rights than Southeast Asia does. Now, what does this mean to you? Oftentimes, we don't want to depart a country that hosts us until something big is changing. And in this case, the ongoing hot war that's happening between Thailand and Cambodia might be the catalyst to lots of expats departing these two countries for a safer and freer part of the world. If you're an American, European, Canadian, or Australian watching this video and you value the Second Amendment, meaning the right to defend yourself, the right to bear arms, guess what? In Thailand and Cambodia, you are never going to own a firearm legally. They wouldn't allow this to happen. And because permanent residency is so hard to come by, gun ownership is impossible. But even if permanent residency would be obtained, you can still not own firearms legally in these two countries. Southeast Asia is one of the most restricted regions for owning firearms in the entire world. Certain countries in Latin America, such as Panama and Paraguay, enable their permanent residents to own firearms legally. Now, as I have just mentioned, obtaining a legal permanent residency in these two countries is a prerequisite to you owning firearms legally. While the Second Amendment is not as strong as it is in America, you have the option to own firearms yourself, something that is completely impossible in Southeast Asia. It is time for you to leave Southeast Asia before 2026 because it isn't going to get any better in the coming years. Expats living in Southeast Asia have to deal with several more challenges, including climate change. Southeast Asia is becoming hotter and hotter and hotter. Now, this is not something that I make up out of thin air. This is proven. You can look up the data. The planet's getting hotter, and so are many countries in Southeast Asia. On top of that, if you value your health, especially the ability to breathe clean and fresh air, many of Southeast Asia's metropolitans may not be the right fit for you. Rampant industrialization is destroying the quality of life across many of Southeast Asia's metropolitans, including Bangkok and Phnom Penh. The lack of regulatory reforms, the lack of health awareness, is causing widespread respiratory diseases in these two capitals. And many people are dying on an annual basis. While industrialization is a good thing, it shouldn't come at such a high cost. Of course, there are rural areas where you can live in these two nations that provide much better air quality than the capitals. But it might be time to leave Southeast Asia for good and for sure before 2026. The tax situation can also not be ignored. Many expats living in Southeast Asia are committing to tax evasion. Technically speaking, foreign sourced income is taxable in these two countries. Many expats decide not to pay taxes on the foreign sourced income, which is tax evasion, and it goes against the local laws. And it is only a matter of time until these two nations will start implementing these laws. These laws could be implemented much faster with the introduction of a central bank digital currency. Now, what's the solution here? Again, you can move to a country that offers a better setup. Some countries in Latin America, such as Panama and Paraguay, offer territorial tax systems where you can legally avoid paying taxes on foreign sourced income without breaking the law. So there's a fine line between tax avoidance and tax evasion. And if you want to do things legally and by the books, tax avoidance is what you want to aim for in the long term. While the ongoing hot war between these two Southeast Asian nations is a big reason for you to leave Southeast Asia for good, I think there is a deeper problem, a more inherent problem that you should know about. The inability to convert to permanent residency will always cost you in the long term. What do I mean by that? At the end of the day, we all want to feel secure and stable in the country we reside in. And without permanent residency, you really don't have that many rights in the country. It is true that permanent residency can also be revoked should you break a serious law. Should you be convicted of a felony conviction, you could still get deported in many countries. However, permanent residency is the cornerstone of building your life abroad because it comes with reciprocity in civil and property rights. I know that is not the case in Southeast Asia because even if you become a permanent resident of Thailand, you still don't have the right to own land in the country so easily. Also, you don't have the right to bear arms. Also, you don't have a path to citizenship. Now, Cambodia does have a path to citizenship, but also land ownership is pretty much impossible in Cambodia. And you can also not own firearms legally in Southeast Asia. Given how the past crisis went down, I think many of us learned that some countries restricted their citizens and residents more than others. And it was the perfect time to judge how a country operates and resolves problems in an emergency situation. It is also true that some countries did better than others. Many countries in Latin America did much better than Southeast Asia. I essentially hope that these two nations, especially their leaderships, can resolve their issues and disagreements peacefully and respectfully However, if you feel like it is time to leave Southeast Asia for good and before 2026, please book a consultation with me today. Go to nomaddelete.com and click on book a consultation. I look forward to talking to you and advising you on the best countries to relocate to in 2025 so that you can leave Southeast Asia before 2026. Like I have stressed throughout this video, there are better options out there. There are freer countries, there are lower tax countries, and even countries where you can avoid paying taxes on foreign sourced income legally. You don't have to break the law like you might be doing right now in Southeast Asia. There are healthier alternatives out there. So again, I can't stress this enough. If you value permanent residency, if you value property ownership, if you value the right to bear arms, and if you value freedom of speech, go to nomaddelete.com and click on book a consultation, and I will personally help you relocate to Latin America. Thank you so much for watching Nomad Elite. I truly appreciate your attendance, and I look forward to welcoming you to Latin America.